Use the verb to say and to ask.
I want to find her a great housewarming.
Hey Google, stop. Hello, marhaba, shlonkum. What's up everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm wearing my new hat that my friend Ali gave it to me. Guess what it says on it? It says Iraq. All right, thank you Ali for this beautiful gift. So today I want to go ahead and teach you two verbs, verb to say and verb to ask. And I'll also go ahead and conjugate these verbs for you. And as usual, we're gonna have some vocab time. I want to make this lesson interesting and the upcoming lessons also interesting. At the end of each lesson, I'm gonna go ahead and add an Iraqi dish that I like, that I enjoy, and talk to you a little bit about it. I would like to thank you for all the support. My channel is growing very fast. Thank you very much. I always respond to comments, and if you have any questions about how to say certain things in the Iraqi dialect, I'm gonna go ahead and leave my Instagram in the link below, or you can see my Instagram handle right here on the screen. Go ahead and DM me and I'll tell you how to say certain things in the Iraqi dialect. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the verb to say is yagul. Yagul. So in the MSA, Modern Standard Arabic is yaqul. So the letter is qa, yaqul. But in the Iraqi dialect, we replace the letter qa by the letter ga. And as I mentioned in the previous lessons, that we use the ch and the g a lot in the Iraqi dialect. And by the way, you should go ahead and binge watch my lessons so that way you can benefit more from this lesson. All right, so let's go ahead and conjugate it as usual. Ani, ani, agul. Ani, agul. And also I'm going to go ahead and give you some sentences to use the verb to say and to ask.
I want to find her a great housewarming.
Hey Google, stop. Okay. Google thought I was talking to him, and apparently Google understands Arabic and the Iraqi dialect. So I had to shut Google off. All right. So ani agul. Inte تقول. Inti تقولين. تقولين. هو يقول. هي تقول. هم يقولون. يقولون. احنا نقول. انتو تقولون. And again, the pronouns are I, you, male, you, female, he, she, humma is they, احنا, we, and into you all. All right, up next is the verb to ask. To ask is يسأل. يسأل. So let's go ahead and conjugate it for you. Ani, I didn't write the pronouns now. Ani أسأل. Ani أسأل. And a fun fact is the verb to ask, يسأل, is associated with the word question. Question is su'al. So I'm going to go ahead and write it for you here. So su'al. So these two words, the verb and this word are related. So in English, you know, the verb to ask and question are different, but in Arabic there's a lot of words, the verb, and then there's a noun for it. So يسأل, su'al. Ani, for example, I'm going to throw in a sentence for you now. Ani أريد أسأل سؤال. And أريد is I want, and I taught you that in the previous lessons. I'm going to go ahead and leave a link for you here. So let's get back to here. أني أسأل, I ask. أنت تسأل, you ask. أنتِ تسألين. And if you're wondering what this two is, this letter is not in English. So we write it as two because this is the letter in Arabic. And if you can see up top here, let me grab my marker. This gives it the sound, that stopping sound. So we use the number 2 because check this out. It's really similar. All you gotta do, this one, let me magnify it for you if you can't see it. It's literally the opposite of 2. Okay? So that's why we use 2 for that. So, inti تسألين هو يسأل هي تسأل هم they يسألون احنا نسأل انتو تسألون. Alright, so now before we continue to the vocabs, I want to teach you mine, yours, male, yours, female, so on and so forth. And I also emphasize the last letter that we use with these. The reason being is, if let's say you want to say something like, I want to ask you a question, you have to say, Ani أريد أسألك سؤال. So you see, when I conjugated to ask, which I just taught you earlier, if you say I ask, Ani أسأل. But if you want to position that you're asking it to someone, a guy, أسألك. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and teach you these. So the last letter of these words, maybe 2 letters, 3 letters, I'm going to go ahead and list them up there in the next slide when I teach you about sentences like I want to ask you a question, I want to say something to you, all right? Because the ending that we're going to add to the verbs is going to be to like it's going to be different if you're asking a male, a female, group of people, all right? So mine, mali. So let's just say I have a teddy bear right here. Okay, his name is Alawi. Alawi mali. Okay, Alawi is mine. Yours, malak. Alawi malak. If you're a guy watching, Alawi malak. And yours for female, Alawi malik. Alawi malik. His, Alawi male. Alawi male. It belongs to him. Hers, Alawi malha. Malha. And theirs, Alawi malet hum. Malet hum. And ours, malet na. Malet na. So now let's get back to the letters. So mali, E, okay, the E sound, that's you use it if you're, it's for like mine. Yours, malek, so just bear with me here. I'm just showing you this because it will make sense in the next slide. Malek, maltich, so ch, okay, male, so he, malhe, and malhum, hum, so I'm going to circle the hum, and I'm going to add these in the next slides at the top. Malet ne, because we're going to be using some of them. All right, so as you can see, the ending right here of what we just learned earlier, I put them up here. All right. we're not going to use this one for I, okay? Because we always, like, when we ask someone, we don't really like ask ourselves. We ask someone else, whether a guy, a male, a female, a group of people here, a group of people over there, okay? So let's use our two verbs that we just learned. يقول ويسأل. يقول is to say, okay? And this also applies to all the verbs that we've learned. So يقول is to say, and يسأل is to ask. Okay, so in the previous lessons we learned I want. So I want is أريد, right? So I'm going to go ahead and give you some examples here. So I want to say, I want to ask you a question. All right. I want to ask you a question. We just learned question is su'al. So we're going to use one of these, all right? So I want to ask you a question. I'm going to say it to a guy. I read, want, so we conjugated yis'al for ani is SL, right? So it's, let me write it down for you so it makes it clearer. So SL. So now this, so ani arid SL, we have to use one of these letters for you, okay? Because you're talking to someone, a guy. So we're going to use the K. Ani arid SLek. So see, I added the K. Su'al. Su'al. So now you are talking to a guy, okay? Let's say you're talking to a female. It will be Ani arid SLich. SLich. See, I add this, su'al. So now you are asking a female, okay? So now I'm gonna go ahead and erase the board and give you more example for yugul. Alrighty, so now for to say, okay? We're gonna use it in a sentence and we're also going to use one of these, all right? Different ones than the one we just used for to ask. All right, so let's say that you want to tell someone or say to someone about a news, all right? Kinda, we can use say, like if I say I want to tell you about a news, we can use the word to say, okay? Ani arid, and to conjugate to say for ani is agul, right? Ani agul, we learned the previous slide. So now I want to ask or say someone a news to he, okay, to him, or and then her. So ani arid agul leh. Agul leh, let me write it in different color. Khabar. Khabar is news, one single news, and we learned that in the previous lesson. So ani arid agul leh khabar. Ani arid agul ha khabar. Ani, so for her, okay, I want to tell him news, or I want to say news to him. As I told you, say and tell can be interchanged here in this situation. So ha is for her, and I want to tell them. Ani arid agul hum khabar. I want to tell them khabar and them. And let's say there's a group, 10 people in front of me. Ani arid agul kum. Agul kum. So this is the only one that changed from the previous slides, because you can't really tell us news. You gotta like tell the people in front of you. Like you can't just say ani arid agulna khabar. So you have to use kum. Ani arid agul kum khabar. All right, now the last part of the lesson is vocab time. Now, I tell you a lot of things today, so I'm just keeping it very simple. I hope I didn't confuse you. Again, if you were confused about what you just watched, please don't hesitate to ask me on Instagram. I answer everybody, and I would love to help all of you. So yesterday is imbarha. Imbarha. Tomorrow is bachar. Bachar. Okay, so this one is completely different from a lot of other countries. So bachar, bachar. And before yesterday, we would say awit umbarha, awit umbarha, awit umbarha. All right, so now as I promised you, the Iraqi dish that I want to talk to you today about is called dolma. Dolma, and maybe you've heard of it, is an Iraqi dish that's made from grape leaves. So stuffed grape leaves. Same thing that you find in, when you go to a Lebanese restaurant. Maybe I think they call it waraq anab, which is grape leaves. But the Iraqi way, when we do dolma, we don't cook it with, I think the way the Lebanese or other countries do it is they do it with oil. But our way is like the Turkish way, okay? Us and Turkey, we share this dish and call it dolma. Dolma is basically grape leaves. you got rice, you got beef, and some spices, tomato paste, and then you mix everything in there. Then you wrap the grape leaves. I can show you some pictures here. It's delicious. I miss it, and we cook it with tomato sauce. Okay, so we don't just cook it with oil. We can use grape leaves, we can use chard, I think that's what it's called, onions, anything that you can stuff. Eggplant, tomato, potato, and cabbage, all right? So I'm gonna go ahead and leave some pictures for you. If you're interested to learn more about it, Google it. It's very delicious, all right? I hope you enjoyed today's lessons. Again, follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Please share this with your friends. Help the channel grow faster. I really appreciate it. And thank you.